Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. Today I'm looking at something a little bit different. It's an engine that I think there's at least a small possibility I'm not going to like. So a little while ago I was browsing the pre-owned section of TMC and I came across this. This doesn't look like a ready-to-run box, and the box says Webb Tank 58892 built from a kit. And yeah, I paid £32.50 for this. And I thought this would be quite entertaining because this is well outside of my comfort zone. I have rather a dislike for kit-built locomotives, and this dislike goes back many years. It goes back to the days when I used to do Sam's Trains servicing, and I had a job from a guy who had a couple of hundred locomotives that all needed servicing and, if possible, DCC fitting. And it turned out that basically all of those locomotives were kit built, and he hadn't built them. They were bought second hand, and as a result the quality of those kits was massively varied. A couple of them were excellent, most of them were really quite shoddy, and this job that should have taken a fortnight ended up taking a couple of months, which was just absolutely ridiculous. And I just spent all the time trying to fettle these kits that hadn't been built properly. I ended up with quite a prejudice against kit-built locomotives, and I think even after that point I even said no more kit-built locomotives for Sam's Train servicing. I'm only going to service ready-to-run models, because I only used to charge about a tenner. It was a tenner to service each locomotive, and obviously I can't be re-engineering bad workmanship for a tenner, can I? So yeah, I've got a bit of a prejudice against kit-built locomotives, and in some ways I do recognise that prejudice is unreasonable. You know, a kit that has been built properly and to a high standard is absolutely incredible. In fact, there are no finer models than kit-built locomotives that have been built properly. But the thing is, you can't normally buy those models second hand for £32.50, so I think there's a much better chance this is going to be a bit like one of my old friends. So only doing this for a bit of fun. There's a strong chance it's not going to work. In fact, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I don't have access to the TMC listing anymore, but I don't remember them specifying whether or not this locomotive worked. Now, I was trying to think about what that might mean. Does it mean that TMC only sell models that work, so there was no point specifying whether it worked or not? Or if it did work, would they have specified it, and the fact that maybe they didn't say that it worked is a red flag? I don't know. It doesn't really matter though. I'm kind of hoping it doesn't work so that I can investigate it. It's one of my most favourite things to do. So I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm probably going to get angry today, but let's see what this thing is like. A tank engine bought for £32.50. And if you'd like to browse TMC's second-hand section, or I think they call it pre-owned, there's an affiliate link down below. Let's get started. And you know what? Even if the locomotive does turn out to be a nightmare, I'm quite pleased with this box. It's quite a handy thing, this. I might have to see if I can get some more. And yeah, I suppose there is a distinct possibility that the box will end up being worth more to me than the locomotive inside. Hopefully that's not the case anyway. Let's open this up. I've not done this yet, so let's see what's inside. A little deposit, that's the answer. Look at that. It's well packed though. Nestled in between two bits of foam, and there's some weight to it. Most kits are made of metal, of course. And let's unfurl this thing. Oh, there it is. Okay, oof. Be interesting to know whether this weighs more than Bachmann's Webb Coal Tank or not. But yeah, right. What do I think about it then? A few red flags to start with. We have an eyelash here, trapped underneath the paint on the tanks. I can also see the faint outline of LMS lettering on the tanks, which means this has been repainted at some point, because now it's in a BR livery, of course. And repainted certainly seems to be the word. I mean, look at the paint on the handrails here. There's so much paint that, as much as I think these are wire handrails, because in places you can see right through them, in other places the paint has sort of webbed, like the locomotive designer, between the handrail and the locomotive. That is a lot of paint. In fact, yeah, look at the front end. How was so much paint used on this locomotive? almost all of the detail has totally been just painted away. The cab is very interesting as well. We've got this sort of corrugated floor which reaches all the way underneath the coal bunker. That's very strange, but there's no cab detail, even though the motor doesn't fill the cab, so maybe it could have had some detail put into there, I don't know. And then a real crushed coal load in the top, which doesn't look too bad, really. Yeah, it looks all right. Then underneath, right, so, well, it's 2-rail, which wasn't always a given, was it? So at least it's 2-rail. I should be able to test this on my normal layout. It's got wiper pickups going to each wheel, which seem to be well adjusted. They're not particularly neat looking, but yeah, they all seem as though they would work. But I suppose that's the big question, isn't it, really? I do want to take this apart at some point and see what it's like inside, but I guess before I do that, I ought to give this a chance on the track, see if it's going to work. So let's do that. Let's give it its first test. And I've just thought of a bit of a tip for anybody who paints locomotives like this. And you don't actually have to do it this way. You don't have to tip an entire tin of paint onto a locomotive and then spread it around the engine with a paintbrush. You can actually dip a paintbrush into the paint and just use a little bit, and then the engine will still look like an engine by the time you've done, rather than a black blob with the British Railways crest on the side. But I'm being horrible, I'm being horrible. As long as whoever did this enjoyed it and was happy with the result, that's absolutely fine, that's good. I'm just a little bit bitter that I ended up paying £32.50 for this, because really it's not worth that. It should have been given away, quite frankly. This is not in a sellable state. And if it was sold, it should have been, you know, a tenner for parts. £32.50. I would not have thought this would be so bad that it wasn't even worth that. But if it runs nicely, maybe it will be worth £32.50. It seems unlikely, but I've not tried it yet. So, forwards direction. What do you reckon, folks? Place your bets. I don't think it's going to work, but hopefully I'll be wrong. Here we go, turning up. Oh, it does work. Wow. That's a surprise. Ooh, and it works really nicely. Okay. Maybe it is worth £35 then. I mean, that's lovely. That is actually lovely. Maybe I shouldn't do too much of this running, because I don't want to, well, because I don't know how long it's been since this thing was serviced. But, I mean, that's lovely. There's no torque to it. I wonder how much current it's drawing. We'll have to find all this out later on. Full speed. Yeah, that's not pleasant. I don't want to do that. Go on then. I think I saw the date, well, I saw the numbers 96 on the bottom. So was this built in 1996? Don't know. No way of knowing. Let's see if I can get this to crawl. Oh, you can as well. That's not bad. All right, it's a beautiful runner then. Beautiful runner. Okay, and it's cut out on the points though. That's not a surprise. Go on then, let's see if I can take this apart. This was always the thing I hated doing, because bodies were always attached in some harebrained way. But I want to see what's on the inside. It must be a decent motor. So let's do that, see what I find. What a pleasant surprise that was. I was not expecting this thing to work. So yeah, already I'm thinking a little bit different about this now. Not looking forward to getting into it though. So let's start taking out some screws and we'll see what I find. Now there's a few other little features I spotted. The couplings on the buffer beams, the coupling hooks rather, these are sprung. It's just they're totally seized up because of all the paint that's on them. So I have a theory about this. I would say the person who built this originally was probably quite competent, and then whoever came along and repainted it into BR black, it sounds really horrible to say, but maybe they weren't quite so much. I don't know, because a loco that runs this nicely, I can't believe would have been built by whoever painted this loco this horribly. I don't know. Anyway, that was it, just the one screw. Oh, a bit of the corrugated plastic has come off it. What is that then? What do you think that was originally? The kit builder's way is to reuse various materials from other areas of life. So yeah, I don't know what that was. Here's the chassis then. Golly. So this is a 5-pole motor. There we go. Well, that explains a lot, doesn't it? But look at the state of that commutator. It is glistening with oil, which is concerning. It may be conductive oil then, because otherwise this thing wouldn't work. And the commutator plates are bunged up. They're bunged up with gunk. Is it magnetically sound? Right. So I would imagine then, and no, but sorry, I've detected the result and didn't tell you what it was. Yeah, there's very, very little strength to that magnet. So I wonder then if this was drawing quite a lot of current, and that's why it didn't have any torque. Tell you what, let's try and measure how much current this loco is drawing. Right, we're hooked up to the ammeter. This is amps. Let's go up to 50% power. Let's see. Right, 0.42. Oh yeah, that's, well, it's dropping, but that's quite a lot. It is improving. Normally we're talking 0.2 to 0.3 amps, maybe 0.3 if it's an older engine. What if I stall it like I did on the track? Oh, 0.6 amps. Yeah, that's a lot. So that's not so good really. I mean, it is dropping, but I'm glad I didn't run this in because that magnet is weak. So what I need to try and do is see if I can bring this number down a little bit. And I can do that by lubricating it, cleaning up the motor and recharging the magnet. So let's take this apart a bit further. It does unfortunately mean I've got to try and get the motor out, but I think that'll be worth it. See if it's any different in the other direction. Yeah, it's getting better, but I think it needs some assistance. Right, go on then. So, I mean, the body was surprisingly easy to remove. Let's see if this will be as well. So I would imagine it's going to be this screw. Hopefully the whole damn thing doesn't fall apart when I do this. But that's kind of what we want, so we'll see. Yeah, that's definitely screwed into the motor and that's definitely loose now. The next one has a nut that needs unscrewing. I might be able to hold that in place and unscrew it manually. If not, I'll have to go and grab some pliers to hold the nut, but I think I've done it. Right, ideally, I don't want the pickups to fall out, but if they do, so be it. How's that motor going to come out? I don't know if this motor is soldered in place or what. It seems to be pretty stuck in there. Has it just been there for years? If it's 96 that this was built, that's my entire life. If I can't get this out, I may have to... Oh, no, it's coming. I was going to say, if I can't get it out, I might have to try and do it in situ, but it is coming now. Just don't want to mess up any of the wheels as I try and do this. It's just a tight fit. Oh, yeah. We've got it. Okay, but the wires are tight. So it comes out, but only that far. That might be enough though. Yeah, might be enough. Might be able to get that in the remagnetizer. Okay, so I guess I'll do this off camera just because it's simpler. All I'm going to do is wipe the commutator clean and recharge the magnet. So I'll be back and we'll put this thing back together. Right, that's the motor magnet recharged. As you can see now, it holds on to the screwdriver a lot better. And now all I've got to do is get this back onto the chassis. You can also see how shiny the commutator is now as well. Yeah, clean that up. Added a bit of lubricant as well. So hopefully this will be pretty good. All I want to do now is maybe add a little bit of grease onto the worm drive, just so that that's nice and free. But apart from that, I think we're pretty much there. So it's just a case of wedging this motor back on and doing up the screws again. So what I think I might do is just try and get the front motor screw biting, just so that I'm making sure this is in exactly the right position. There we are, so that's in. I'm not going to tighten it yet until I've got this little nut on at the back, which is going to be fun, isn't it? I could tell already, and by fun I mean not remotely fun. Okay, let's try. Yep, we got it. So I'm holding the nut with my finger, which should now have taken. Yeah, looks good. And then it's not meshing yet, but that's because I've not done up the front screw, so hopefully this will pull the motor into position. Yeah. Yeah, there's something about this kit that's just mechanically competent. Sometimes, like I say, I've done a lot of kit build, sort of servicing in the past, but there's something about this one that is just well done. You know, you tighten up all the screws, everything meshes correctly. That's quite rare, or at least it was in my experience. Usually you have to wedge a bit of paper under the motor to get the damn thing to mesh properly, because otherwise, if you fully tighten the screws, the worm drive's pressed into the worm gear and it can't spin properly. I've just tightened those screws up fully and it's perfectly adjusted. I mean, that is a good bit of workmanship there. Right, let's adjust these wires. Then we'll take it back to the bench and we'll see how much current the motor draws now. Hopefully a bit less. Right, let's do another test then. Let's make sure nothing's going to catch on it. Let's do a smooth and gradual acceleration. Does it still work? Yep. Go up to about half power. Alright, so yeah, it's still a little high, isn't it? 350 odd milliamps. Maybe it'll come down the more it runs. Turn it up. Turn it up, it gets higher. Oh, okay, well, let's not do that. Let's go a bit slower. Yeah, so it's lower than it was. It's maybe a little bit high for my liking, but who knows? Maybe that's just the kind of motor this is. Mind you, it is dropping, isn't it? Maybe it just needs to run then. Shall I leave it for 10 minutes? I might do. Mind you, 330 is not so bad, is it? Seems to be settling about there though. 333. Oh. Yeah. Alright, go on then. Let's put the body on. Let's see what it's like on the track. And maybe even hook it up to some coaches. That might be fun. Alright, let's do it. Right, so it's back on the track, ready to see if it still works after I've messed about with it. And assuming it does, I'm going to couple it up to some LNWR Genesis coaches. I don't want to hook her up to too much rolling stock because she's already kind of power hungry as it is. I don't want to overload anything. Anyway, back when I used to do my kit built servicing, one of the big issues would be a loco would work perfectly with the body off, but as soon as you put the body on something shorts and it no longer works, bane of my existence for many a year. So hopefully that won't have happened here. Does it still work? Yes, it does. I just can't believe how it crawls. Good Lord. But I mean, it's a 5-pole motor, so it's going to be a good crawler, isn't it? See if we can get a bit of that crawling on camera. Here we go. I mean, that's not bad, is it? And I did clean the wheels and the pickups off camera, so it should be a bit more reliable now. But yeah, I mean, that, slowly accelerate, it's pretty darn special, isn't it? Not bad at all. So let's back up and let's see if we can couple to modern coaches. And I've looked at the couplings. I think they should be able to engage as long as they're at the right height, I suppose. So let's see if they do. Obviously there's only a hook on the Genesis coach, so might not be the best coupling in the world, but yeah, it's got them. All right, let's see if it can run around the track then, shall we? All right, here we go. Not tried it on curves yet. Seems all right though. Oh, slowing down a bit. Oh yeah, I saw the front wheel jump off. And now it's stopped. So yeah, that's fair enough. I guess it wasn't built for second radius curves. If I put it on my inside line though, that's all third radius, I think. So let's try that. Okay, broader curves, any better? Should be. Yeah, that looks better. All right, so it's going to be an inside line locomotive. That's all right. Anyway, one thing I haven't looked into yet is how much this thing weighs and how it compares to the Bachmann Webb Coal Tank. So I guess we should have a look, see exactly how heavy this thing is. All right, so I've got both the Bachmann and the kit here. Which one's which? I hear you ask. I don't know, I've mixed them up now. Anyway, let's see. We'll start with the Bachmann. Oh, I think the battery's died on my scales. We'll never know. Yeah, we will. Look, 190 grams, too low. 190 grams for the Bachmann. Wait for the scales to re-energise. This is ridiculous. It's going to be more, I can tell. 261. Ooh. So much, much heavier. So maybe Sam's Trains ought to prefer this one. I don't know. But yeah, much, much heavier than the kit build. But then, of course, Bachmann's is slightly nicer looking, of course. Either way, that's been good fun. Alright then folks, well that will just about do it for this video. I think I've learned all I want to about this thing now. And yeah, that was actually pretty fun. I've enjoyed this a lot more than I was expecting to enjoy it. The big question though, is this worth £32.50? Now when I first saw it, the answer was good God, no. And I still think it was maybe a bit naughty for them to sell this at over 30 quid, given how badly painted it was. But to have an engine that runs pretty well for just over £30 is not too bad in this day and age. So actually I would say tentatively, this is worth the £32.50 that I paid. Would it have been better if it was 20 quid? Yeah, sure. But I've had some fun. I think it was probably worth the price of entry. But anyway, let me know what you thought about this. Have you got any similar locos like this one? Do you know which kit this would have been built from? If you do have any information, please do let me know. But for now, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this as well. I'll catch you on the next one very, very soon. All right, cheers folks. You take care.